Coulter, best-selling author, great columnist. You can follow her on Twitter, Ann Coulter Twitter, and go to her website, anncoulter.com. If you haven't read all of her books, they all apply today. Mugged is a great one about crime and everything getting out of control, and it's great to have her with us. Ann Coulter, how you doing?
Fantastic. How are you, Mark Simone?
Very good, but what is going on in the world? This whole woke two-piece, is this just a cycle we're going through? Will this all backfire on Democrats at some point?
Yes, as long as we keep track of it now. No, it's very, very, very bad. It's interesting how many I've been hearing about. A lot of very wealthy people who've been pulling their kids out of the private schools in New York. I mean, that's just a particularly egregious example for some time. Not only the ones that have become famous for it, but over the past year, a lot of bold-faced names moving their kids out. It's hard to imagine that these schools. I mean, I guess they're sitting on so much money, and they just don't care if they lose all their most desirable students.
Yeah, but let's say you're a very wealthy, super liberal, sitting there in the Hamptons, you're voting for these Democrats. Next thing you know, you're getting taxed to death, crime is out of control, you can't go back into the city, your taxes are through the... Don't they start to say to themselves, you know what, maybe these people don't know what they're doing?
I would hope so. I've been surprised at how stupid rich people can be. As you may recall, I have a chapter in Adios America, the title of which is, I wrote this chapter when I realized how stupid rich people are, and that was after a dinner in Palm Beach where they were all just driving me crazy. And, my position is, rich people are obviously very good at something. They figured out, a new way to make a widget, and, congratulations to them. I sit around reading all day. So if they're going to talk about politics, just, shut up and listen to me.
It's a lot of professional commentators have this problem when they're sitting at a dinner, because you get those people talking, but they've only got like 7%. Well, they got like 14% of the information. They're trying to have a conversation with an expert. So it's somebody once called that baby talk. Like you have to listen to baby talk.
Yes.
So
yes, and a lot of it is very similar from city to city.
Yes. So, but let's say you're not a rich person. Let's just an average person. You're living in New York, and you hate these Republicans. You're voting for a left-wing progressive. But now you notice your neighborhood is filled with homeless, rats, crime is out of control. Don't you say to yourself, maybe I should stop voting for these people?
I hope so. June 22nd is the big important primary. I don't know where you vote, Mark Simone, but I hope you're voting for Yang because he's the only one who seems like he's not completely insane. And I don't know, we'll see. But I do have high hopes for New York. It's the greatest city in the world, and I hope de Blasio hasn't ruined it.
Well, yeah,
Connecticut's doing pretty great. Your other state, by the way. I've been surprised and impressed by your governor, Ned the Red Lamont. Who knew?
Yeah, Ned Lamont, left-wing tax and spend and all, but he's a businessman. He's just recently got into politics, and he saw the light. He's a very practical guy, and he's done a very good job of cleaning things up, and he's talking about lowering taxes this year. But get back to Andrew Yang. Why do you think Andrew Yang would be a good mayor, or we could live with him?
Because he's not part of the left-wing George Soros. I should admit at the outset, it's not like I've been reading their policy papers. I'm the 14% right now.
Yeah.
But so I will fully admit that. But the rest of them are, well, the things I do know about the other ones. I mean, Eric Adams, he's Black Lives Matter all the way. So you're going to have no change with him. And same thing with Maya Wiley, a bunch of the rest of them, and others. I just think they're part of the New York establishment of communists who want to release criminals and hire ever more social service workers. Obviously New York has a lot of government workers, and many things need to be done. But oh my gosh, a lot of money gets wasted on things that don't need to be done. Like, for example, paying teachers to stay home and not teach when they've been teaching not only in Florida since about, a month into the pandemic, with no ill effect. In fact, doing quite a bit better. 100% better than New York, but also the aforementioned Ned the Red Lamont. He opened schools too in Connecticut. Boy, you never hear about that. Except he ought to be getting praise from our side, but he's not attacked on CNN. Although, hey, Mark, I've noticed something interesting.
Yes.
I fear mentioning it. I think I might jinx it. Maybe they'll pull back. So I'm not watching a lot of cable news. I don't learn anything from it. Twitter is where the action is. But when I'm making coffee or something, I'll have the TV on. Normally my favorite station, MSNBC. But they go into commercial break. Every time I've switched over to CNN for about 2 weeks now, they're interviewing another scientist who's saying, no, once you get the vaccine, take your masks off, open the schools. I think Jeff Zucker has gotten a little bit sick of sitting home alone for the past year. I really think there's a lot of journalists. I thought they'd be and maybe they are the last ones to notice that once you've been vaccinated, in fact, once a lot of people have been vaccinated, and if you have no comorbidities, safe to go out. It's okay now.
It's very safe.
But
by the way,
it turns out journalists are sick of this too. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I see Jeff Zucker from time to time all over Midtown Manhattan in this restaurant, walking down the street. I notice he's never wearing a mask. And with a face like that, he should always be wearing a mask. But anyway.
Yeah, I know. I've been mulling in my head. But I think it would just, why should this bother me? It would drive too many people crazy. It might be insensitive to some, but, there are always, upsides, downsides, and I have a running tabulation in my head of the upsides of COVID, and there's one right there.
Okay, now,
people, for ugly people.
I keep meaning to ask you this, because we get all these emails for people want to ask you this, ask you that. Are you working on a new book?
No, not at the moment.
What? How come? We need a new book.
I've said everything I have to say. I mean, something may strike me. It may come along, but I don't write books because, it's time to write a book. I don't write books because my bank account is low. Otherwise, I would be writing a book. I was just commenting on this to some friends at dinner the other night. I mean, I've written 13 books. They've all been New York Times bestsellers. I put an enormous amount of work into them. They're on very different subjects, from history to science, Darwinism. The crime book, Mugged, is magnificent, if I do say so myself. Demonic is fabulous. Godless, one of my all-time favorites. All of these are so applicable now. And what I was pointing out to my friends was, after my third book, it went High Crimes and Misdemeanors, Slander, fantastic book, but everybody's ripped it off so much it might not seem new to a lot of people. And then Treason, the truth about Joe McCarthy, among other things, 50 years of liberal treason. After my third book, every time I'd finish a book, I'd tell my bodyguard, well, that's it. I've said everything I have to say. This is my last book. And he'd always laugh at me, and then there would be another book. Well, I think I may have actually hit that point now. I've said everything I have to say.
It's just a temporary lull. But, I've been going back and reading the book Mugged. It really applies today to the problems between the woke crazies and the police. So if you want to read a book, if you get Ann Coulter's book Mugged, and we have it up on the webpage.
Especially New Yorkers.
Yeah. And this incident with the college professor screaming at the cop, calling him a murderer and all. This is where you need leadership. Somebody's got to. It normally would be the president to address the nation and say, "Stop this war against the police." Well, we're for police reform, but stop the war against all cops. Don't we need leadership on that?
Yes, we need a lot of leadership, including from the GOP. And speaking of that video, I'm sure your listeners know all about it. If you haven't played it for them, you ought to play it like once an hour. I can't get enough.
It's up on the webpage.
She was not a. Oh, okay, good. Not a professor. She's a teacher. Point one. Point two is she has made a spectacle of herself. I mean, it's the most stunning thing in a million different ways. What an obnoxious twat she is, outdoing any white Karen they have ever produced. The girl in the park, the one, even the one in the hotel downtown. There has never been a Karen this obnoxious, demanding. You know, she filed a complaint before this video came out. Also interesting about that, this police department doesn't have the money for body cameras, but that cop made his own body camera to protect himself. Boy, talk about an ACLU policy that backfired. Now they're trying to get cops to take the body cameras off. Can you imagine that poor, magnificent man? What's his name? Nick Reardon, the cop who saved a black girl's life by shooting Makia Bryant as she's about to plunge the knife into that girl literally holding a puppy. Can you imagine if he hadn't had a body camera? He'd be in prison with Chauvin.
I hate to say it, we're out of time, but if you want more, just follow Ann Coulter on Twitter.
You get me going.
Ann Coulter on Twitter, AnnCoulter.com, a lot of great stuff up there. Ann Coulter, thanks for being with us.
Good to talk to you, Mark Simone. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. And if you want to see the video we're talking about, it's up on the webpage right now.